and I just wanted to take a minute to welcome you along to GSN473 for TP4 2023. Really looking forward to meeting everyone and going through the subject. Look, I know when you look at a subject like corporate governance and accountability, you can be thinking, man, this is going to be dry, this is going to be very legal, etc. And look, there are some elements which are like that. But there's also elements which are truly about performance, which I've tried to focus our subject in on some of the really complex issues that we face in the area of corporate governance and accountability. I've also tried to focus the subject in on principles. The reason for doing that is many people, when they're in the MBA, they're at a part of their career where they're maybe not quite at the C-suite level yet. So many people may have had limited interactions with the board and or not be in a position where they're really going to apply a lot of the detail of corporate governance immediately. But things that don't change are the principles, and understanding the principles of corporate governance can put you in a very good position for when you make it to those levels of your career. They can also help you interpret why you're being asked to do things a certain way at various levels of the organization. And you can take many of the aspects that we're talking about in corporate governance and apply them in other areas of your work. You can apply principles around accountability. You can apply how to run a meeting, how to make decisions. Those kind of things can apply generally everywhere. So I think, I hope you'll find this subject very useful. So what are we going to do? Well, really there's kind of 6 key modules, right? The first module is about what is corporate governance and ethics and the role of ethics in corporate governance. The second subject, we start dealing with what's the role of a director and the role of a board, because they're subtly different. There's a different level of analysis there, the individual versus the group. The third module, we look at, how do you get a board to run effectively? All right, so we're looking at 2 things there, like the actual nuts and bolts of governance process, which you can apply to most meeting settings, as well as the kind of roles of a board, what a board should actually be doing, and how would you put together a good board, what composition should you have. Week 4, we look at the important issue of solvency. How do you monitor effectively, particularly in the financial realm, and we touch a little bit on audit. Now, those 4 modules contain the bulk of what you'll need to actually address the assessment of the subject. So it's a bit heavier early on in terms of content so that we can start to apply it a little bit later. In terms of your assessment pieces, which I'll go through in a separate video under the assessment page, basically weeks 2, 3 and 4 are assessed in our take-home assessment item 1. Week 1, with a little bit of week 3, is assessed in the group assessment, which is assessment item number 2. We give you more time to do that as a group so that you can discuss it. And finally, there's a reflection piece. The reflection piece mainly touches on our simulation, right? So we've got the first 4 weeks, which I've been through. The 5th week is about remunerating justly. We don't directly assess that, but we use some of it in week 6. In week 6, we're going to do a board simulation. That's where we get to put some of the stuff into practice. As a result of putting it into practice, you can then have a chance to reflect on that. And that's the final assessment piece, a reflection on what you've learned in the subject. Okay, so that's the structure of the subject and what we're going to do. To tie everything together, we have a case that we use that unfolds over the TP that we use in an end simulation on that Saturday, our week 6, which is not really in week 6, but we have that simulation on the Saturday, right? So this case runs through all of the modules so that we can see how governance ties together the leadership, the direction and control of the organizations we govern. Hopefully, you're going to find the subject really useful. as I said, look forward to catching up with you on Monday the 4th. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. More than happy to answer any questions that you've got. Oh, one last thing. I am updating our vodcasts that we use. Look, the old ones should work just fine. There is some not newer materials, some elaborated materials on some certain topics, but the core thing you'll need for assessment are all there on the old videos. So I'm putting the old videos up and I'm going to gradually replace them as I do them. They take some time to do, so they should be ready before the lecture. But if you wanted to get right ahead, just use the old ones. It will have all the key content. Okay, thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you on the 4th.